pull the bales off it, and then, you know, not right away, but when the case is freed up, we can come back here and set a worker loose on this field while we do all of the other stuff, like bale and wrap the rest of them. And I can pick up all of that grass, and because we're already loaded with a partial bale, no issues there. I must admit, I do prefer the FS19 method, which is the last thing you put in the baler is what comes out of it. So you don't have to reset the bale. If I'm cutting clover here, I had clover hay in the baler. I don't want a bale of clover hay at this point. Obviously, I can use it because the sheep like hay, but it's not a thing I absolutely want to, it's not something I want to produce at this point. This is all going to be clover silage or grass silage, depending on how lucky I am at hitting all of the grass windrows. So I just want to be able to wrap every bale and not have to, well, this one's hay, I've got to take it somewhere else and store it somewhere else. That's the thing. So your options are either to live with it, or you can reset the equipment and that will empty your baler in FS19. FS22, technically you should reset the equipment because you shouldn't mix product in your balers, but you don't have to, and because we're now out here baling clover, the clover hay that was already in the baler would actually be lost in FS22 and replaced with a final clover bale. Starbucks 64, welcome to the stream, and Saturday and New Year. So I don't think you've been around for a while. So we're probably doing the same thing we were last time you were watching. Try not to drive this into the river, because that would be a bad thing to do. Okay. So again, we'll pick up most of the stuff. The problem with clover is it doesn't rot. So this clover is always going to be on this field. No, it's not. I'm going to plough this field. So it's going to go away, but if you make straw or hay, it should rot with seasons running. Although I have noticed that's not always the case. We had a big rain, what was it, end of yesterday, game day. It's basically raining all from midday through to 6 o'clock in the evening. And that should destroy straw and hay, but sometimes doesn't. Yeah, as I did say earlier, I will be looking at Calmsden, see if it's interesting. I mean, we just looked at this one. We've played about 250 hours since the reboot of this series, I think I said. Maybe more, maybe less. But then there's another 600 hours before my hard drive crashed. Yeah, 244 hours. So any British map, I am going to be wanting a map that truly inspires me to do stuff. Calmsden is somewhat typical of recent Oxygen David maps. In there's some small fields, there's medium fields, there's large fields. So there's always something to expand into. He's looking at Court Farm, which viewer did suggest he did in FarmSim 15, although I have no recollection of that because I didn't play FarmSim 15. And he did say that that is all small and medium fields, so we wouldn't be using big tractors like this if we decided to play on that map. But it should make expansion maybe a little easier in that the fields are probably cheaper, but also a little bit more difficult because your income is not going to be great because the fields are small. Although there's ways around that. So possibly look at Court Farm. One of the things I do want is, as I've said, is precision farming. Although it's not a big deal to say, well, I'll start and then we'll add precision farming when it comes out. I guess it depends how desperate I am to finish this series completely. And then the latest information I got from Oxygen David is once he's finished Court Farm, he's taking a break from British farms and he's going to be doing some American farms. So, and he mentioned kind of like Bullet Bill did Lone Oak. So that may be interesting to see as well. I kind of prefer British maps because that's where I'm from, so it kind of makes me, reminiscent of where I come from as opposed to where I live now. And Lone Oak Farm, it's a really good map, but it was never really a map that inspired me. And I really, that's one of those things I can't put my finger on to say, yes, a map needs to have this, 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 and this to make me want to play it. But Lone Oak Farm was, I don't know. And as I said, not a bad map. It's just I didn't feel like putting hundreds of hours into it for some reason. Okay, how are we doing? Well, the plows are still running, so that's a good thing. I think I'll finish this row. We'll run off, we'll get the Valtra. And no, yes, no, yes, yes. Yes, Valtra. So handbrakes come on. I can turn that off. So let's go find the Valtra. You're still doing, and you're a Valtra. This is part of our expanded use for the Valtra now. It's not a tractor we've done a lot of work with on the farm. It usually spends most of its time hitched up to fertilizer tank or a sprayer. kit, so front fertilizer or front tank and rear spray. And so rather than unhitch that kit frequently, I just don't use the Valtra for anything except fertilizers. So we tend to do a lot of fertilization contracts. However, since we now have a pull behind sprayer, it's not such a big deal unhitching the Valtra from it. Do I ever play with New Hollands? Yes, I have. I mean, I've actually featured, I think, actually I'm not sure whether I featured. I did do a New Holland Oldstream farm one time, and I don't know whether I streamed it or not. And I also did a Fent Oldstream farm as well. But yes, every so often I will do a New Holland farm. I believe, yeah, let's think. I think we had a T6 or a T5 on Lawfolds. And I nearly got a T7 on this farm, except I figured, you know what, I have never ever featured case on my farm, so I'm going to have whatever the case is that we have. We have the Case Puma 220, and that was a conscious decision of I've never done case on my farm, so I probably should feature it at least once. Typically I always include a Valtra somewhere. Previously, or before the reboot of this series, I was running a Valtra T, a mod, and I've lost access to that mod because the website I got it from folded a couple of years ago. So yeah, hard drive fails, you lose all your mods and you have to re-download them, and that one just wasn't available anywhere. Is a little bit sad because I did like the mod series that he'd done. He'd done a pack A, N, S and T, and he'd included more of the engine range available from Valtra, and I believe typical Valtra paint colours, as opposed to, I mean, the in-game ones, when you buy a Valtra, it's just main colour, all the colours. But this was red, metallic red, orange, metallic orange, I think grey and silver. Yeah, silver was kind of the metallic grey. And then it had a lot of different engine sizes, so you could run the A up to about 125 horsepower. So I just liked the pack because it had far more variety for the Valtras available. Now for 22 we don't have anything but the G. Not that that's a disaster. I think one of my comparisons was, a lot of people initial go-to tractor was the Valtra N, which has a good range of 145 horsepower, 65 201. You can go all the way up to 201. So over 200 horsepower in a small tractor, front and rear. 3 points and PTOs. You've got narrow tyres available, and you have a front loader available. So it kind of, if you want a generic all-round tractor that has 200 horsepower, this is a good starting tractor. Well, not anymore for Farm Sim 22. However, the Class 600 meets the same criteria, and we can probably look on that because I do have the class pack. That's the 400. Actually, the 600 here is a medium, and it's at the end, of course. So the 600, you can put narrow tyres on it. You can 145, 165, 185, 205. So extra engine size, and it has a front loader. So this pretty much covers a similar capability as the Valtra N, but all loaded you're looking at 150, whereas the N, I think you're looking at a fair bit less. Oh, maybe not. Let's put the big engine in it. And the front loader. So, similar price, except the Valtra N is small and the class is medium. So the medium is going to balance that out a little bit better with the heavy equipment. But again, could replace the Valtra N as the go-to tractor, but still. Now we also have tractors in the 180 horsepower range that are very cheap and slightly older than 2020 models. A couple of John Deere's. This one came out as a mod, the 7200 Pro series. And that was another go-to tractor that people liked in 19 and wasn't available in 20 until about the 3rd or 4th week of mods dropping. And you can take that up to 261 for 143,000. But it doesn't do a front loader. It does have the twin wides. The wide-spaced narrows, twins, that I think theoretically you're supposed to use on things like cornfields and potatoes and sugar beets, all of the row crops, so that you're not driving where the crop is, but you still have wheel spacing that see, there's hay there. That should have rotted last night when it rained, so I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. But yeah, maybe I am looking for another tractor in excess of 260 horsepower. No, in excess of 300 horsepower, but probably less than 350. I don't need something as big as the Challenger or the Class that we have. So maybe I'll feature a New Holland before the end of this series. Maybe I won't. Maybe we'll just wait till we move to Farm Sim 22 and see what we do there. And yeah, part of the thing, setting up on Calmsden will, if I go there. At the moment, it looks like the only map that's under serious consideration at this point. But this series we started with a large influx of money because we treated it as a continuation of the Law Folds from 17. But potentially this one, and we didn't do all of it, that was the thing. I did take a big bumper budget to start out. But then, although I'd said, yeah, we'll be selling off other things from Law Folds and using the money from the proceeds, I ended up not bothering. We just grew the farm organically from that point. So for Farm Sim 22 I am going to be starting from fresh, so it's going to be just what we have as the starting budget. But I don't know if I want to do a farm manager or start from scratch. I mean, farm manager now gives us 1.5 million. I guess it depends on how expensive the land is. Yeah, my philosophy is I want to buy as much land as possible. Don't necessarily need to buy as much equipment as possible. Or whether we start out really small and just go start from scratch, which is what, 300,000 base plus 200,000 loan, maybe the other way around, and really have to work to grow it. Now, I've definitely got ideas on how to do that, which is going to involve a lot of contracts, so hopefully there are a lot of contracts. That's part of the problem with the Oakfield map from Oxygen David, is not a lot of fields have contracts. Farming Agency added contracts all over the map. And doing that means it's much easier to grow the farm because you can get out there and run a bunch of contracts to make extra cash. But, we'll see. But yeah, when we move, and it will be until Farm Sim 24 comes out. Would be when I would be looking at retiring the next map. See how well we do. I think we've done quite well on this map. And most of it is in land at the moment. We upgraded the harvester when we were cutting the spelt, which I think was a good move. It's not significantly bigger, but it's definitely an improvement over the little harvester that we did have. For the most part, oh, that was the other thing. The scary part of what we did last week. Foraging the maize, 73,000 on leasing fees. Good grief. So I kind of don't want to do any more maize if I can avoid it. 76,000. We were running this. That's a good quarter of the cost of a new one. Now, I certainly expect to make all of that money back when we start selling the 600,000 litres in the silage bunker. That reminds me, I've got some silage down at the EGA. We should probably check on that sometime. Still need to keep an eye on our ploughs, which are still working fine. I'd also like to have the vehicle inspector available on Farm Sim 22. Not currently available yet. I think the guy who does the vehicle inspector did release the existing Farm Sim 19 vehicle inspector, which he said kind of works in 22. He's not going to fix it for 22, so you use it and it does what it does. But he is working on a Farm Sim 22 dedicated mod. But obviously not available yet. And I thought about it, but I felt, I'm not going to pull the 19 version over and mess around with that. I'll wait till it releases officially, although I'm not sure the Vehicle Inspector was ever available on the Mod Hub. Very handy mod, because it shows you your workers and you, and if you're playing multiplayer, the other players, and what's actually going on. So you can see when a harvester's getting full, you can see when a seeder's getting empty, or fertilizer spreader's getting empty. So very, very useful mod. Do I get the truck and just use the auto load? Maybe I do that. Anyway, this field's nearly empty. Well, nearly finished wrapping. One more? Sure looks like one more. Yeah, because mostly I would take these bales down to the BGA and drop them there to ferment. Kind of limited to sort of on-farm storage. I don't want to store them in the fields because these are going to be growing again. And I don't think we're going to fit through there. So I don't know why I'm trying. Let's back off a bit. Fold that up. And park this at the side of the field. So wait till the handbrake engages automatically, turn the engine off. Let's go find a truck. Man skip. I am still running this truck in the horrendous red colour. I believe I bought this truck and a low loader in Farm Sim 17, and we bought the Class 960 with us, which was the